Hey everybody, thank you for joining me today. So today's video, we're going to be continuing our stencil series. And for this one, we're going to have some fun because I am going to do some stamping as well. So thank you guys for joining me. I'm going to start by using some pixie spray on the back of this stencil. This is from Vicki Boutin. This is one from her mixed media collection that came out. I want to say it was like April or May. And we're going to use on this first one, Wild Honey. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Wild Honey. Yeah. And we're just going to put color all over the stencil. And I like using the Distress inks. I think they're fun. They stay wet a little bit longer, so sometimes you can go back in and do different techniques on top of that, particular ink and get either like a chalky look or, different things like that. Now, I do use my embossing powder, but sometimes the ink may still be wet because oxides, just like any other pigment ink, stays wet a little bit longer. So I'm grabbing a Catherine Pooler mini blender, I think this is, and I'm just putting Versamark in the different areas around the perimeter. And then I'm going to use clear embossing powder to let those few items, those few elements, kind of have like a little shine to them, right? Give it a little bit of interest. I'm not going to worry about the inside because we're going to have an element that's going to really cover most of it, but I figured the outside would work. And then I'm just going to, where I can see the shine, I'm going to pour over the clear embossing powder, and I'm trying to keep it over top of the container. Sorry it's off camera, but I just wanted to make sure I got all of my places where I had put the Versamark. And while I'm doing that, if you guys have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below. I look forward to like questions or seeing what people type. It really makes my day. Okay, so now I'm just taking a little brush, and the areas where I don't want the powder, I'm removing it, okay? And then we're going to, because of course it never fails, embossing powder gets everywhere. Okay, it's the name of the game. It happens. It'll be all right. So now I'm taking my heat tool. A lot of times I heat it from the back first to let the tool warm up, and then I'll bring it to the front. You just have to be careful if you're using your hands. The heat does get hot. I just throw it down and then I'll pick it back up if I got it in the wrong spot. So I have done that before. So now before the video, I fussy cut these bumblebees from Colorado Company. I want to say it's part of the Bold collection. I love this stamp so much, and I've only gotten to use it like once or twice. So I was like, you know what? This will work great. This looks like a honeycomb. I can put a bee on it. Done. So now I'm taking my card bases. I'm scoring at 5.5. So now our card is 4.25 by 5.5. And we're going to go ahead and score both. And we're going to do this as, I want to say these are side folding. Yeah, I think a lot of these I've done side. Yep, these are both going to be side folders. Okay. So now we have a couple of different options. You could trim the card front down to give yourself a little bit of a border, or you can leave it the 4.25 by 5.5 size and just let it cover the entire front. Okay, you have multiple options. I think for these cards I just left them the same size as the card front. Yeah, I'm looking at the ones that both of them right now. Okay, so we just line it up, make sure it's nice and even. And then once it's on, we'll take the sentiment I'm going to use, which is very simple. It's just happy birthday. And we're going to stamp it down and go ahead and cut that out. And then that's going to be our cards, really. It's just that simple. The bumblebee in black and white with a happy birthday sentiment. I love the fact that the color is the honeycomb on the background. And we're just going to make this a thin strip for our sentiment. And if you wanted to, you could put a little banner on the side. You could put it on top of a mat. It's up to you. For me, I'm just going to leave it as is. We're going to wind up putting some foam underneath of it. But first, I want to get down the bumblebee itself. And I'm just gluing the body. Trying to make sure that it's on the right angle. So that way, if we put it into an envelope, it'll fit and not give us any problems. And then there's this one section here between wing and one of the legs that I needed to trim again because it wasn't flopping right. I like to do that with my butterflies as well. So I don't know why I didn't do it at first, but once I laid it down, I was like, yeah, I gotta do that. So now I just cut up some foam and we're going to put that on the back of the sentiment with a little bit of glue. I always do that to give us, one, a little bit of wiggle time, and two, because we have texture being the oxide ink and a little bit of embossing here and there, I wanted to make sure that I had the glue to help adhere. So now I'm going to clean off the stencil, try and remove as much of the yellow as I can, because we're going to do the same exact thing, but this time we're going to heat emboss the entire thing. When I tell you, I don't know why this was in my brain, but it was, and I wanted to see what it was going to look like. And I'm not sure which one I love the most, but I really do enjoy these cards. So I'm just going straight to card with my little mini cube, and I'm just putting the Versamark directly to the paper. And the good part about this is if you lift up the paper and kind of tilt it, you can see shine. So if you think you might have missed an area, you can do that so that way you make sure you don't miss anything. And even if you do, the way this stencil is created, it's made not to look perfect. It's very distress giving. So yeah, I think it's good. And then I'm just grabbing the little spoon in my embossing powder. I had a bunch of powders set up this way, and I love how it turns out. And it just makes it easier to scoop out some of the powder and then have it, you know, a place to put it all back in. And I know on the other one, you know, we had pre-treated after we did the coloring. Well, this time we pre-treated the card before we did the embossing because we didn't want embossing powder sticking anywhere that we really didn't want it to. And then we just heat this up. Now this does take a little bit of time. I got it on the angle because I'm hoping you can see how the angle that I'm on, as I heat emboss, you can see it gets kind of darker. That's showing the powder melted. And then once I get a good portion of it done, I flip it around and then finish it out. And just heat it from the back. It kind of helps it not to curl up too horribly. So now we're going to take our card base and attach this. And for those of you who may be finding me for the first time, I use tape and glue because, well, one, I like having a little bit of wiggle room. If I go to put this down and I put it down crooked, I can pull it back up without ruining our card base or the like the embossing that we just did. It protects it and it makes it easier to pull apart. So right now I'm fighting with my glue, as I do. And once I was able to get it clear, the glue starts coming back out and we're good to go. And again, we're going to line it up along the edge. And there you go. Now there was a little bit hanging out, so I just grabbed my scissors and trimmed it just ever slightly, and then that is perfect. So we're going to grab our sentiment again, and I had a little small piece already cut, so I'm just going to stamp right in the center, and then all I have to do is trim the edges to have our sentiment of happy birthday. Cutting up some more foam, and then we'll attach that. And again, because it's embossing, just because we're using foam, you gotta also use wet glue. You want to have the double adhesion, especially when you have texture on your paper that you're using, because you don't want it to come apart. And then I already know I needed to cut these down. And now we're going to put some tape. Now this on the back, I stamped it once and it didn't stamp well. So this is the bad side, and the other side is the good finish side. And only you and I and anyone else who watches the video will know. All right. And then we're going to take our backing off of our sentiment, add a little bit of glue, and then boom. And what I like about these cards is these could be feminine, they could be masculine. It doesn't matter. It's just a very gender neutral. The idea of the bees, I love it with the yellow, but I also think, you know, taking it up a notch with the embossing and the platinum is beautiful too. And now I'm lifting up the wings, and I'm putting a little bit of splatters in the spritz using, I think it's, what is that, fossilized amber? I have it right here. Hold on. Yeah, fossilized amber, black, and a little bit of white. And then on the platinum embossed one, I'm using black, and I want to say, yes, I also used weathered wood spritz on this one. I'm going to grab it in a second here because I was trying to see if I had the shimmer. Yeah, I did. All right. You guys know I love the splatter. I just think it has a final, I don't know, it's like a cherry on top for it. And I didn't mind the splatters on the bee for this one. The yellow one, I didn't splatter the bee. I think it's fine either way. You'll see in the close-ups what I mean. So thank you guys again for joining me today. I hope you like this series. You can see new ways or different ways that you can, you know, play with your stencils using the same products that you have. And I will see you guys with our next video. It's going to be next Friday, and we're going to be doing some ink blending and stamping and embossing again. But this one is going to be a stamp set that's designed for the like layering part. Okay. So thank you guys again. Have a great weekend, and I'll catch you with the next video.